I'm early because I'm compulsively early by habit. So we'll see how many people drop in here. I know I'm super early, but I was just going to spend the next hour sitting on board. I kind of finished up everything that I needed to do for the day and finished getting ready, put some lipstick on, made myself all prettified for the YouTubes. And yeah, I was just kind of like sitting around feeling antsy, counting down until 8 o'clock when I could come just start this YouTube. So yeah, hi, I'm here. I'm here now because I was bored and impatient. So hello, Merry Xmas, Merry YULETIDE Eve. Thank you for joining me. If you do end up joining me tonight, I figured I would start off here by my tree and share some festive Yuletide spirit with you all while I talk about some like pagan book club related things, and then later on in the evening I really wanted to do some live tarot reading, so I might transition over into my like witchy crafty room for that part of it, just so I'll have a little table to shuffle. Hi, Ailey. Yay, someone's here. I figured like it's just me and my husband, just me and Miguel, and we're doing stuff with my family tomorrow for Christmas Day and like doing the gift exchange and having food and all that. But like Christmas Eve, it's just the two of us and the cats. Thank you. I'm going for I don't know what my hair is doing anymore, and I'm cold. So I'm gonna wear my little indoor hat and my cat themed Christmas sweater because Santa Claus is coming to town. And we're gonna just chill on Christmas Eve because I don't have any plans. And so I figured if there were any other pagans out there who also found themselves unoccupied on Christmas Eve, that we could hang out together. And also because I kept putting off doing the live stream that I usually do at the beginning of the month for Pagan Book Club, because where have the last 2 months gone? Seriously, like how are we almost at the end of December and like almost the end of 2022? Because I swear it was just Thanksgiving. It was just Thanksgiving, and then I was like, oh my god, I have to finish Christmas shopping, and now it's Christmas, and I'm like, how are we here? So yeah, I have no concept of time. I know I don't, but these last 2 months like just really went by in a blur. And so I'm pretty proud of myself for keeping up with Pagan Book Club because I wanted to try to do it for like at least a whole year. So I started it back in January, and I skipped maybe 1 or 2 months just because like life things. But I'm pretty proud of myself for keeping up with it as much as I have, especially considering that it's not really like a thing yet. Like I have my Buy Me a Coffee website where people who are members there can go vote on what book to read each month. But for the most part, I'm just kind of throwing up a handful of books that I already own and have people help me decide between which one I should read so that I can hopefully force my ADD brain to only concentrate on one book at a time. Because otherwise, I am always like team doing the most and have a million different browser tabs open in my brain at every possible second. And I want to read like 5 different books at once. And then I end up not being able to keep track of any of the information and not being able to finish any of them. So I figured Pagan Book Club would also be a good way to, yeah, just help. Yeah. And no, trust me, even though I'm only picking one book to read for Pagan Book Club, that is not stopping me from still reading all of the other books in the background, because I'm still like doing research for upcoming videos that I want to do. Like I really want to do a video all about elves coming up here to kind of get into like some of what I'm going to do for 2023. So since I didn't end up really doing anything for Pagan Book Club in November, so then I was gonna do the live stream and post the poll for December at the beginning of the month. Didn't get around to that. I was just like kind of fully in hermit mode and not really feeling it, to be honest. Like just energy slump, feeling myself hitting that burnout level and trying to just give myself permission to take it easy and take a break from things, because normally, like, not only am I like team do the most, but I also like am really hard on myself in terms of like holding myself accountable to, if I say I'm going to do a thing or I'm planning to do a thing, even if I'm the only one that knows about it, I've still said I'm going to do it. Or like, oh, I said I'm going to do a live stream at this time on this day, and then I just like had no energy and wasn't feeling it, and it didn't happen. And so normally I'd be like really hard and beating myself up about that kind of stuff. But when I started YouTube, I told myself I was just going to keep it casual and keep the pressure off of myself. So yeah, only skipping like 1 or 2 months out of the year, I think, is still pretty good. And so I figured I would do this live stream, not only so we could hang out, but also so I can kind of play catch up on Pagan Book Club, because I did say I was going to read this final book in the series of books on witchcraft by Silver Ravenwolf, which I ended up reading in backwards order inadvertently. So even when I'm only concentrating on one book at a time, we still got to have some chaos up in here, because the first two I was gifted, and that ended up being the second and third books, and I just kind of picked one randomly because I didn't know that there were three of them and that they were kind of in a particular order. So I just picked the one that looked the most interesting, which ended up being the third and final book. And so the second and third book that I already read and we talked about, I would say we're definitely more like intermediate level in terms of like the level of knowledge, the amount of knowledge, and just how it's kind of building on what she talks about in this first book, which is To Ride a Silver Broomstick, because I feel like this is definitely like a really good beginner's guide to witchcraft. And it's pretty like heavily Wiccan based, but she's not like a super hardcore traditionalist, like high magic, like, or ceremonial magic witch. Yeah, not hardcore like Alexandrian Wicca over here. So I feel like it forms a pretty good basis for people who are just wanting to get into witchcraft without it being part of a whole, you need to join a coven and you need to, practice Gardnerian Wicca to do any sort of magic. It goes into those kinds of things. Like, one of the things that I did like about this book is that chapter 2 is just giving you definitions and brief descriptions of all the different types of witch and witchcraft that are out there, because you have Alexandrian and British traditional, which I think kind of stem from Gardnerian Wicca, and then we also have, I guess she named specifically Celtic Wicca, and then Dianic tradition, which is more heavily like, I mean, it's all very heavily goddess based, but Dianic Wicca obviously works specifically with Diana and like moon magic types of things. And then it has like kitchen witch, solitary witch, Teutonic witch, which I thought was cool, and then the Wiccan witch. So cool to get a kind of just overall overview of all the different kinds that are out there. And then from there, it goes into kind of a basic glossary of terms of different terminologies and words that you might come across when you're first getting into witchcraft, such as what an altar. Another one that you'll also hear, especially if you're talking about like past lives and things like that, is Akashic records. And so she gives a really good definition of that here. It was originally a term coined by the psychic Edgar Cayce, which I didn't know that it was something that he had mentioned specifically and like originated the term supposedly. But It's the Akashic Records refers to basically a giant database somewhere, or like almost like Jung's collective unconscious, which can be accessed for information on subjects such as past lives, healing, and other magical spiritual practices. And so, yeah, if you're going into like meditation work, field heal work, um, trance work, past life, astral travel, Akashic Records is just kind of a generic term for, yeah, basically another way that I wrote down in the margins here is you can think of it as almost like Odin's high seat or the high shelf, where he goes and can see everything, and just, yeah, an information database that you can tap into and access, and it spans all of time and space, so you can, yeah, access your own past lives and information about those types of things. So I thought that was cool to just get a basic little glossary here. And then from there, since I read the books backwards in reverse order, I feel like they obviously go on to expound a lot more on things like how to construct altars, how to construct rituals. And so for this book, it was a little bit more of just kind of skim through it for me, because it was just kind of the basic level of what she goes on to expand on further in the next two books. But she goes over the basic solar holidays that you'll find on the Celtic, or, quote unquote, Celtic Wheel of the Year, but that's actually just kind of an amalgamation borrowing from many different cultures and regions, because you'll see things like Lunasad, which Lu is an Irish deity, and then I have black cherry soda because I'm fancy. But yeah, you'll have like Lunasad, which is a Irish deity, followed by Lammas, which comes from like an Anglo-Saxon term, and then Imbolc and Beltane and things like that, and Samhain, which are all like Irish terms, and then sometimes you'll also see Welsh terms used for some of these holidays. But she goes over just some of the more prominent ones here, which of course is the first one is the one that we are in right now, which is Yule, or the Winter Solstice, which of course marks the shortest day of the year and the longest night. And man, speaking of which, I'm down here in Kornheim, like kind of in central Illinois, but we got some crazy winter weather here for the winter solstice that I have not seen in many years, especially with global warming. But yeah, like the wild hunt was riding through for sure, because we have had literally sub-Arctic temperatures in the region for the last couple of days, on top of just a dusting of snow. We only got a dusting in my region, but it was enough to at least make it a white Yulemas, or whatever you want to call it, which is kind of cool. But yeah, just chilling Arctic weather that we don't really experience here too much, or too often, or at least in my experience, not until kind of the latter half of the winter into like January and February is when we start to get the really cold temperatures. So it was really driving home like that longest night of the year, wild hunt is riding, stay in your homes type of energy. But it actually, the Yuletide in the Teutonic version, I like that mentions here, which I talked about in my video on the winter goddess, which is actually from December 20th through December 31st. And I like that because I feel like if you're just going by like celebrating Christmas and New Year's, it's like, okay, Christmas is over. That's kind of the big, bright, cheery celebration of winter. And then you're just kind of running out the clock, it feels like, until the year is over and you get to start over again and the new year starts. So I like that Yuletide lasts all the way from the winter solstice to the end of the year on December 31st, because it just like that energy, I feel like, does carry through all the way from like Samhain up until now, with like, yeah, like the wild hunt energy is really ramping up throughout that entire period. But yeah, it kind of gives you something that you can still feel and participate in even after just like Christmas Day is over. Like, yeah, otherwise you're just in this weird limbo liminal space. So the 12 nights, which is where the song 12 Days of Christmas comes from, begins on Mother's Night and ends 12 days later on Yule Night, which, yeah, is cool to know that pagan origins for the 12 days of Christmas. And then in some more Celtic traditions, it's the time when the Holly King, representing the winter aspect of the god or divine masculine, is conquered and overcome by the Oak King, who embodies the rebirth of the divine masculine and the rebirth of the sun, because after the longest night, we will slowly start seeing the days grow longer again, which is something to look forward to. So then it goes over brief summaries of the other main Celtic solar holidays: Candlemas, which is also Imbolc, Ostara, Beltane, Summer Solstice, Lammas, also called Lunasad, and Autumn Equinox, also called Mabon, Halloween, also called Samhain. And then it also goes over S-spots, which are full and new moon celebrations, which is something that I'm kind of getting a little bit more into observing myself. And then what else did I kind of have marked off in here of interest? There's a list of goddesses, but the thing that I have kind of focused on here is that she does mention Freya, but I feel like some of these like brief lists of like goddesses and their attributes is very UPG, take it with a grain of salt, because it's like who knows where this information is being compiled from. And so it just says Freya is Scandinavian, a moon goddess, which I've never heard of before. I have never come across anyone, even in like casual conversation of their experience with Freya, mentioning her as being a moon goddess or associated with the moon. I have wondered if she's a celestial deity somehow because of her name Mardal, which means something like sea bright, which could refer to like kind of Venus being born from the sea foam type vibe, or I feel like is some type of metaphor for like the light of the sun or the moon or stars were maybe reflecting on the water, but that's just me. So yeah, I just have a question mark there next to moon goddess. And then she also goes on to say that Freya is the wife slash lover of Odin, which wife, no, lover, maybe, because we know that Frigga is Odin's wife, according to Snorri Sturluson. I think Freya may have slept with him because like all the gods kind of get around and sleep with each other apparently at some point, at least if Lokasana is anything to be believed. But yeah, I'm not sure where she's getting that Freya is his wife specifically. And the only other thing it says is that Freya is the commander of the Valkyries, which I feel like I'll delve into that a little bit more in another video. But I take personal issue with the Freya as leader of the Valkyries thing just because of my own specific UPGs surrounding that. But yeah, that's for another video. But it's nice to just get a basic list of some gods and goddesses, and it's fairly eclectic here, but mostly Greek, Egyptian, with some Nordic thrown in. Section 2 is building shadows. There's a brief section on meditation, visualization, and dreaming, which starts off with what they call mental programming, which is what I term magical thinking, and I did a whole video about that. And so there's some good basics here, but I feel like if you're looking for help with meditation and visualization techniques, the other two books by Silver Ravenwolf were a lot better and a lot more in depth with that. But one thing that I did have highlighted here in the meditation section that I think has been really important for me, and so I wanted to point it out for others, is that she says when you're first starting out with meditation and visualization or trying to like put yourself in trance, It's almost like self-hypnosis in a way. But whatever you're trying to do or accomplish, or even if you're just trying to meditate like for 5 minutes a day, um, when you're first starting out, just don't put yourself under pressure, because many people, she points out, have their imagination on a very tight leash for most of their lives for fear that society in general will frown upon them. And so it can be hard to let those walls down and embrace magical thinking, even in the privacy of your own home. And especially when you're just starting out, like our mind is just not trained, especially in today's day and age with all of like the modern technology and things like, to get on my like old person soapbox, like things like the TikToks and the social medias and the instant gratification of it all. Like we're just have no attention span anymore, on top of just always dealing with just day-to-day life and the living of it all. So it's really hard to get what I saw one monk refer to in a video one point as the monkey mind. It's really hard to get that monkey mind to stop focusing on like, ooh, shiny thing, like, ooh, what's this over here? What's this thought? What's that thought? You're always being distracted by things. And in some cases, like maybe letting yourself be distracted by things because maybe you don't want to meditate, you don't want to focus on certain thoughts because it can be stressful. Like for me, I'm just trying to distract from my anxiety a lot of the time. So yeah, it can be hard at first. And so don't pressure yourself if it takes you a lot of time and practice to really start feeling like you're getting anywhere with any of this. Let's see, what else did I think was of interest in this book? She goes over the standard magical tools that you will find in Wicca, which can be useful if that's something that you're interested in just learning more about, whether or not you plan on using them. And then it goes into basics on designing and performing rituals, which, as I said, the second and third books are way more in depth on those aspects of things. But I do like that she goes over a basic outline of ritual for a solitary witch, because like if you're like me and you really do have like ADD brain and it can be hard to focus on things, even focus on things like when you're spellcrafting, actually taking the time to set intention instead of just being like, all right, I have all the ingredients, let's just throw it all together and we're done here. Like I need to actually take time to focus and like, yeah, set intentions and invest things with my time and energy instead of just making them. Don't get me wrong, I definitely hold with the idea that just the fact that you are taking your time and attention to crafting something or reading something, like that is investing your time and energy. But for a specific spell or specific working, I think it can definitely, be good to actually maybe have an outline in front of you so that you don't forget any of the things that you want to accomplish or any of your intentions that you want to set going into it. So that was something useful. But after that, I was just kind of skimming because it goes over divination, candle magic, color correspondences, basics on just different things like that. So yeah, I would say this is definitely good for beginners. And then you go on to the other two books in this series, which are definitely more intermediate level, but which for me, as someone who's been kind of studying basics of Wicca for over a decade at this point, I definitely found the other two books a lot more interesting and useful for me personally. But I'm glad that I read all of them and completed the whole series. So another thing that I wanted to talk about really quick, while we're talking about books, because I said I want to do a video. I'm going to do a video coming up all about elves, because it's a topic that has always been near and dear to my heart. I'm just constantly traipsing through the woods looking for the portal to Alfheim over here. So, like, what do I gotta do to meet some elves? So I've been doing a lot of research on that lately, and one of the books that I had on my list as a possible pick for book club was this New Dictionary of Fairies, a 21st Century Exploration of Celtic and Related Western European Fairies by Morgan Daimler. And I really liked this book. I found it super useful for that video, and also just super cool as someone who is just interested in the topic of everything elves, fae, and fairies, because it really is just a primer of every basic fairy related topic or mention of it in myth and folklore that you could ever possibly hope to find reference to. So instead of just having to scour random pages on the interwebs, it literally just lists like, I know the video quality is crap out here, but yeah, it literally just lists like A to Z different topics related to elves and fairies. So there's a whole section on the Norse Alfar, and then mentions of different people who were maybe stolen away by the fae in folklore, different types of spirits, particularly different types of Irish and Welsh spirits or otherworld beings, usually lumped under the classification of fae. Things like changelings, elves, the Erlkoning or the Elf King, who is also said to kind of ride and lead the wild hunt. It goes over basic etiquette for dealing with fae, but yeah, that's all stuff that I'm kind of going to go over in an upcoming video. I want to do all about elves and Alfar and all things fae because I love it. I can't get enough of elves and fairies, and if you also can't get enough of that kind of thing, I definitely highly recommend this book. So because I don't know if it's one that I'll ever bring up for like book club again, but because it is just like literally a encyclopedia almost of fairies. So I don't know how interesting that would be to like read and discuss for like a whole book club in and of itself. But yeah, if you're interested in that topic, this is a good compendium. So yeah, if you're just joining, I started the live stream a little bit early because I was getting bored and antsy, so I figured I would just hop in here. I'm just chilling like on the floor of my front room right now because I just kind of wanted to get some cool Yule vibes with my tree in the background. I insisted on getting a real tree this year just to get some land spirit vibes and some land spirit energy in the house during this cold, dead heart of winter. Because I figured, if the tree was going to be cut down to be sold as a Christmas tree anyway, I don't want its life to go to waste. So I'm going to go get a real tree and invite it into my home to make a little shelter for the land spirits over the cold winter months and help maybe ease some seasonal depression. Because fake it till you make it, right? So yeah, I did that whole decorating with Yule video just because there was a few little things I did want to do around the house, and I figured why not film it. But I'm always trying to kind of walk that fine line and find that balance between like what do I do just because I want to do it, and like what do I do because I think it would make good content. Like I don't ever want to feel like I'm doing something just like for the content. But yeah, if I'm doing it anyway, I might as well, but I figured maybe it would be like something cute that people could put on in the background while they decorate, because it's mostly just music and with a little bit of voiceover while I decorated my tree and made some other Yule decor. I spent all day baking today, both by myself and with my family, which is a fun, like, kind of holiday tradition that we have. Even now that I'm older and I've moved out, my sister's moved out, like, my family still lives like 5 minutes across town from me, which is nice. So we all get together around like right before Christmas Eve, and we still bake holiday cookies together because growing up we would always make sugar cookies and sometimes gingerbread cookies together and then just have fun decorating them, like just me, my mom, and my sister. So we still always do that every year, which is fun. We go over to my parents' house, and we kept it kind of low-key this year. Maybe I will go get a cookie to munch on. while I wait for people to hop in here, since I am early. Because I've been too busy baking all day. I need to eat real food at some point besides just the macaroni and cheese, because I'm an adult. But yeah, normally we make like the cutout cookies with different shapes and decorate them, but I'm looking through my back out a couple of days ago, and I'm still recovering from that. So we kept it kind of low-key this year and just did circle cookies, and still put some icing on them, because you gotta have sugar on your sugar. Or is it even Christmas, I guess? That's one good sugar cookie. So yeah, I did that with my family this afternoon. Then tomorrow, me and my husband will go back over there for Christmas Day gift exchange and have some holiday dinner together. But tonight, not really doing anything. I'm gonna go chill with my hubby later, but I figured I would come hang out, chill with you guys first, in case everyone else is bored. But yeah, then I came home to eat with my mouth full. Then after I got done making cookies over there, I came home and started baking more Christmas desserts over here at my house. I've somehow become the appointed maker of family meal desserts for Thanksgiving and Christmas. I don't think I really did anything for Thanksgiving this year because I was just, like kind of an unused slump and not feeling it. But I do always have to make the gravy. For some reason, I'm the only one that knows how to make a roux to make gravy. But that's neither here nor there. So I came home and I decided that I wanted to make some apple crumble because I had some apples, like apples that I bought that I hadn't eaten yet. So I could use those. And I was just like, what are some just good Christmassy Yuletide desserts that I can bring? And I immediately thought of like warm apple pie, like apples and cinnamon, baked apples and cinnamon. So I made an apple crumble, and then I really like gingerbread. Could not find gingerbread cookies or really even like box gingerbread cake mix. Sometimes you can find that and use it to make like gingerbread cake or turn it into cookie dough and make cookies. Could not find it anywhere this year. And we were just keeping it easy anyway. So we just did the sugar cookies. My mom made some just like take and bake pumpkin spice cookies, but even as like a basic fall bitch who loves me some pumpkin spice everything, I have not had one yet because I'm not sure how I will feel about it. Like, I'm not sure if I would like pumpkin spice all up in my cookie dough. I don't know. We'll see. I have some. If enough people hop in on this live stream and want to see me eat one on camera and get my live reaction, let me know. I'll do that. But yeah, I came home. Man, that is sugary. I made the apple crumble, so that was pretty easy. And then while that was cooking, I tried to make a gingerbread cake from scratch. And then my idea is I'm going to fill it with a marshmallow cream filling. But my first attempt at making the gingerbread bundt cake was kind of a failure. It doesn't taste bad exactly. It just doesn't taste like gingerbread, mostly because I myself may have been half-baked when I was throwing it together, and also just with my ADD brain, I cannot follow a recipe to save my goddamn life. So yeah, I was trying my hardest to follow the recipe. And I even have a nice KitchenAid stand mixer, which is lovely, makes things a breeze to whip together. But I somehow forgot to put the ginger spice in my gingerbread cake. In fact, I forgot to put any seasoning in my gingerbread cake at all. So not only that, so not only did it just taste like pretty much nothing but molasses, which is weird. Like maybe if you're an old-fashioned person, you would like that flavor, but I am not used to it. So it wasn't bad per se. It was just too heavy on molasses because it had literally no other flavoring in it besides maybe some vanilla extract. And I should not have greased the bundt pan at all. I was worried about it sticking when I tried to take the cake out and flip it over. But it's a nonstick cooking pan, so I think it would have been fine. And I used like the cooking spray that has flour in it, but I maybe like shouldn't have sprayed it all over the inside of the bundt pan because like the cake, I think I also just didn't mix it well enough because it just did not rise. I don't know if the cake just like couldn't cling to the side of the pan enough or if I just didn't mix in the ingredients right, but it just like did not get enough rise. It was way too dense and it just tasted like nothing but molasses. So I figured, you know what? This is not like a baking competition show, which, you know, may or may not have been what put the idea into my head to try making such a filled cake in the first place because I've never tried to do this before. But, you know, I'm always, team do too much. So I'm going to make a cake that I've never made before to serve my family on Christmas Day, the night before. So the first one did not quite go according to plan. And I was just like, it's not terrible, but I can't serve this to my family. So I hope Odin and the land spirits like molasses cake, because that's what they're getting as an offering this year. And I just decided, I have time, I have the ingredients. This isn't a timed baking competition show. I do have time to just start over and make it again. So at 6:00, with about 2 hours to go until this live stream, I went back into the kitchen, got everything back out that I put away, and made the gingerbread cake again. And boy, do I wish that I could pick up my laptop, carry it in there, and show these two cakes to you right now because boy, do they look completely different. Even like the batter turned out completely different. I think maybe I just hadn't really mixed it or incorporated some of the ingredients together enough in the first run. And I also didn't let the butter soften enough before I mixed it and tried to cream it with the sugar. So the butter just did not want to mix into the rest of the batter at all. And I didn't rise enough. And I think with just nothing but the molasses, it was just really dark. And I also had the oven set too high because I had just finished cooking the apple crumble and I didn't feel like lowering it. I was like, 350, 375. What's the difference? It's fine. It's fine. No, I think because of the high temperature and the molasses, it came out really dark, like kind of burnt on the outside bottom. And so I tried again. This time I really made sure to mix all the ingredients well, and so the batter came out just a lot fluffier, and I did not grease the baking pan, the bundt pan this time, so I actually got some rise in my bundt cake this time, and it is a much better color and it looks much fluffier. So, and I remembered all of the spices this time, most importantly. Remembered all the spices this time. So hopefully round 2 of gingerbread cake will be a success. But it's still cooling down in the kitchen right now. So I still have to go make the cream filling and somehow try to pipe filling into the center of it as well. So that will be an interesting experiment in baking. So that was my day today so far. And now I don't really have any plans. like we've been kind of trying to get into like the festive spirit and watching some like holiday movies. But yeah, with just the two of us and cats and no kids, and not really a whole lot going on in our household for Christmas Eve itself. I'm definitely excited to go exchange presents with my family tomorrow. Sometimes I feel like it can be hard to shop for family, especially as an adult, because I'm like, all right, I'm still like I'm in my 30s and still have to ask my parents for help with like groceries sometimes. And so yeah, like they're usually like helping me out with things. And stuff like that. And also I'm like, yeah, like you're fully grown adults that have more money than I do, and anything that you really want you could buy for yourself. So it's hard for me to figure out like what to get them. But this year I think I found some really good, like really cool gifts that just like little cute things that I think my family will really like, and that might actually like bring them some unexpected joy. Things that they might not necessarily have found or bought for themselves, but that I think they will like. So yeah, I'm excited. But yeah, other than that, we'll just have some early dinner over there, and then that'll be our holiday celebration. My family's not super religious, so it's always just pretty much been like a very secular event for us. Like, well, we always do the tree and then presents, and would like make cookies, and then when we were kids, leave them out for Santa. But yeah, there was never any, never really like super serious holiday or anything. Especially, yeah, like our extended family is just all kind of scattered to the globe. So it's usually just like me and my husband and my sister and my parents. So yeah, that's what we'll be doing tomorrow whenever I get up and about. I am definitely a night owl, and I think always have been, and even more so lately. Call it, mild insomnia, if you will. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just a night owl. I tend to get a second wind, a second burst of energy late on in the evening. It'll be like 10 at night and I have work the next day and I need to go to bed. But I'm like, I'm feeling inspired and I really want to work on craft projects right now. But I have to be like, no, Amy, it's bedtime. You need to be getting ready for bed. But yeah, and then I always stay up too late. And then if I let myself on the weekends, I will sleep in way too late as a result. So I don't know what time I'm gonna be up tomorrow. We'll see. But yeah, I'll head over there at some point and hang out with the fam and do presents and all that fun stuff. But figured I would come here and hang out with you guys a little bit for the night. We already talked a little bit about To Ride a Silver Broomstick, which was, I think, the November book club pick that we were supposed to talk about at the beginning of this month. And then, yeah, I just hit an energy slump and just kind of went into full, like, hermit hibernation mode. And, like, especially with being able to work from home most days of the week, and between that and the weather and just, yeah, hurting my back and just energy levels, I was like, you know what? It's that time of year for rest and going into yourself. And I'm just going to give myself permission to not feel pressured to do a bunch of stuff. But that's why we're here now. I figured, yeah, cool opportunity to catch up with some things and catch up with you guys and hang out. So if you're bored and you're not doing anything on Christmas Eve, come hang out. But yeah, I did put up a poll at the beginning of this month for a book club, which will now be the book club pick for January 2023. So we will have all of January to read this book. And then in February, we will have another live stream, hopefully toward the beginning of the month as usual, to discuss that. So the book that everyone picked in the poll was Blackthorn's Botanical Magic. And I've been putting this one up as a poll option for a while now. And it finally got the most votes. So I'm excited to get into this one. It's definitely glad that I have plenty of time to get through it because it is a thick boy. And I feel like just, yeah, going to have a lot of information to absorb. But it says Blackthorn's Botanical Magic is the Green Witch's Guide to Essential Oils for Spellcraft, Ritual, and Healing by Amy Blackthorn. So as someone who is just starting to dabble not only in like, not so much in like plant magic and herbalism per se, but definitely really likes like candle magic. And so I've bought like some of my own essential oils for making candles and things like that. And then another thing that I have also been dabbling in and trying my hand at is making some custom essential oil blends. The ones that I have made so far have been for deities. So I've made a Freya. First, I made like a Freya meditation oil that I wanted to use specifically so that I could have like a scent to associate with getting in that meditation or like spell work mindset. Then I made another set of like Freya and Freyr essential oils. So they kind of have some of the same base notes. And then I played around a little bit with like mid and top notes for some different Vayner vibes, like masculine versus feminine scents with those, which I really like. And then I also made a spray that I called Njord Get the Boat. Which is just supposed to be like Noah get the boat, like this world is too much for me. I can't adult right now. I can't deal with people right now. Like I need some grounding energy in my life. So it's kind of like that. And I described the scent as like having an old fashioned on the beach with Jimmy Buffett, because that's kind of how I picture New York sometimes. So yeah, like whiskey grandpa vibes. And then I made another spray, which took me a while to craft, called the Heimdall Rainbow Bridge Realignment, which is supposed to be for like chakra realignment, like cleansing, energizing, put some pep in your step type of thing. And then, yeah, I think that's all I've made so far. But yeah, I'm definitely wanting to try my hand at making some of my own essential oil blends for like spells, magical workings. I use them as like cleansing sprays and things like that. So yeah, I'm excited to get into learning more about essential oils for spellcraft, ritual, and healing. So that will be the book that Pagan Book Club will be reading for January. So if you have a copy of this and you haven't read it yet, you want to reread it, or it's something that you would be interested in reading together, and then we will have another live stream in February to discuss it together. So very exciting. Look forward to this one. Glad I have a lot of time to get through it, because yeah, there's a lot in that, but that'll be fun. And then, yeah, what else? What else do I have? I had to get up in literally the middle of the night last night. Like, it was 1:30 in the morning. I'd been doing my night owl shit. And finally had laid down and gone to bed for the night last night. And yeah, as my anxiety brain is wont to do, I'm like, oh yeah, now's the time to try to like get my life in order. So let me think about everything I have to do tomorrow. And oh, like what do I want to talk about in the live stream? Because like I wanted it to be a little bit more of a discussion than just book club things. So I'll get that part out of the way first. Cause yeah, I'm like right now, I have been doing it for about a year, but I don't know how many people are actually like participating with me. I tried to be good and consistent about like posting on either my Buy Me a Coffee website or my Instagram about like when I'm doing the live streams or like what books I had picked for the month if people wanted to follow along. But like I don't really know if it's something that people are actually participating in so far. But to me, it's kind of one of those like fake it till you make it and start as you mean to go on types of things, where like I'm just gonna say that I have a pagan book club, and even if it's just like me and maybe one other person occasionally right now, yeah, you can still hop in whenever you want. And if a book sounds interesting to you, read it along with me throughout the month. That way we have like a whole month to hopefully find time to make our way through these books. And then, yeah, at the beginning of the next month, I host a live stream here on YouTube where we can discuss the book. Because in my first year of doing YouTube, I was doing like pagan book review videos where I would just like have a book that I was reading and I would just make a separate video about my own like review of the book. So it's made for a good like live stream topic, because if no one is jumping in on the live stream, then it just turns into a book review video and I can just kind of ramble and blabber to myself about the book and still give my like thoughts and feelings and like a review of it, even if there's no like live conversation happening. But yeah, it's something that I definitely want to continue going into next year. So I'll still be trying to stay consistent with it and posting on the Buy Me a Coffee site and like trying to keep up with like posting on social media with like what the picks are. So that people can jump in and participate if they want to. Because yeah, I'm like, if I keep just treating it like, oh yeah, I have a pagan book club, it's a thing, then people will be like, oh cool, pagan book club, it's a thing, and they'll just join, and then it will be a thing. Manifesting, right? That's how it works. That's what we're here to do. We're here to manifest it. So yes, it's finally actually 8 o'clock now. I've already been here for about an hour because, like I said, I had pretty much finished everything I needed to do. I had finished remaking my gingerbread cake for the second time after the first one was a total disaster. I ended up being able to throw together another one fairly quickly. It turned out way better this time, but I am going to try to fill it with marshmallow cream filling. So it still, I think, needs to cool down before I can do that. I don't, because yeah, I mean, like I obviously don't want the cream filling to melt in there. So yeah, it needs to be like totally cooled down, right? Right? Like, right. But yeah, thanks for joining me here. We're having a chill Yuletide Xmas Eve hangout. We talked about To Ride a Silver Broomstick, which I didn't really have a whole lot to talk about with it because it's the first book of the series and I already read the other two. So this was just kind of like a basics version, touching on a lot of the subjects that Silver Ravenwolf goes into a lot more in depth in the other two books, as I kept saying. So yeah, we did that. Next month we're going to be doing Blackthorn's Botanical Magic, as everyone picked out. And then I guess just to talk some more about my plans for 2023, I said I'm going to do a video here coming up all about elves. I might do one about dwarves too, even though I haven't really been able to find quite as much information on them. But yeah, definitely going to do one on elves. I'm going to be doing a lot more videos all about Freya and some of like my own comparative mythology, like UPG connections that I personally have regarding Freya, and some other mythological tie-ins where she might be concerned. And then another video series that I'm really looking forward to and wanting to put together, especially just to like kind of keep things low pressure and casual during the winter months, is I want to do a series called Fireside Fairy Tales, where I'm gonna like kind of dress up like an elf or a fairy and literally just sit next to the fire and tell you interesting, fun fairy tales that I've come across. Because I feel like where like mythology or historical references leave a lot of gaps in our knowledge, especially with Norse pagan mythology, or even like Welsh Druidic pagan mythology, or just all of these things that were coming from an oral tradition where they didn't write anything down. There are a lot of gaps in our knowledge. And I think if we look at fairy tales as a form of folklore, we can find a lot of kernels of information there. Hey Rachel, I'm glad you made it. I started way early because I was like bored and antsy around like 7 o'clock, and I was just gonna be like kind of sitting on the couch, twiddling my thumbs and watching the clock until 8 o'clock rolled around anyway, because that's just who I am as a person. And so I was like, well, hey, like my cooking is done, my baking is done for the day. I just need to like take a break while I wait for my cake to cool down. And then so why not just jump in here and start the festivities early? But yeah, it's officially like 8 o'clock start time now. I've been here just kind of hanging for a while. Talked about some book club stuff, and then yeah, I was just gonna like talk to you guys a little bit about what I want to do in 2023, which was like the Fireside Fairy Tale series, continuing the book club, going into a lot more comparative mythology because it's something that I've just always been really interested in. And as I keep saying in some of my nerdy videos, may have basically used my English degree as an excuse to just research all of these like nerdy mythology folklore topics that were interesting to me. So yeah, if you go to sacredtext.com, I cannot like hype up this website enough. And if I'm ever bored and like need something to read, I always find myself going there because it is just an online treasure trove of like copyright free material about just any esoteric occult topic you could ever want to read about. So they have like all of the different world mythologies. They have the Norse Eddas and sagas. And then they also have the Andrew Lang fairy books, which are cool. So yeah, I've been pulling out like some different fairy tales that I find interesting from like a goddess worship perspective specifically. And I'm gonna do a series where we just have fun and maybe play some dress up, and just I don't have to like put a lot of like research into it or anything. I just sit and tell you a fun, cool fairy tale. A lot of them have some interesting common themes. And yeah, especially as far as fairy tales are concerned, my interest is specifically with the ones involving elves, fairies, fae, fairylands, and all of that fun, good stuff. So I'm kind of specifically looking for fairy tales concerning fairies. As part of like my ongoing research and / attempt to connect with them. So yeah, look forward to those videos coming out soon. More videos on Freya. And then yeah, now that we kind of have some people in here, actually, I started out in front of this like fun Yule background, but I'm actually going to move into my witchy room, and I want to do some live tarot readings. So yeah, let's go. Let's come with me and let's go do that. Whee! Oh no, I spilled my soda all over the carpet. Loki, why? I'm gonna have to go back and get that. Okay. Let me go get that really quick. Good enough, right? Anyway, where were we? Had to get some Loki interference in this video, of course. Stood up from the carpet and totally knocked over my fancy soda all over the floor. Let me go grab the rest of it, though. This is what I have left now. Sadness. Okay. All right, let's go. Let's do some live tarot readings because I always need practice. Oh, and see, this is good timing too because I figured my battery was going to be getting low, and I would probably have to come in and plug the laptop into the charger, and I was right. So yeah, it's that time. And this was my my list of notes / outline, I had to get up and write down at like 2 a.m. last night. Cause yeah, I think I was saying earlier, I had just like laid down to go to bed last night when I started thinking of things I wanted to talk about in this live stream, and then basically started getting a download from what I think was like Frig and Freya. So I had to get up out of bed and come in here so like a quick write down and like an outline of stuff I wanted to talk about, because I was like, I need to get these thoughts down on paper or I'm going to forget all about what I'm being told right now when it's time to actually come sit down here and say it to people. So yeah, I wrote that down. We'll get into that, I think, toward the end here, because I'm curious. I'm kind of curious now to see if the cards are going to align with what I was basically told last night. But yeah, let's see what happens here. I've got like a plethora of decks here that I'm going to pull from. So we'll start with like a basic Rider-Waite format deck. And then I have a bunch of Oracle decks I'm also going to pull from. So I'm going to start with my Sailor Moon Tarot, because I love it and I haven't used it in a while. So, hey, Nils, thanks for hopping in. Happy Yule. We're here chilling. My fellow pagans, I wanted to provide you with a refuge on this Christmas Eve if you are not celebrating the Christ Mass with the other peoples of the world tonight. Then we have a little chill pagan hangout here for all of us pagans that aren't celebrating anything specific tonight. You know, and most of us probably already had our celebrations out of the way at the Winter Solstice. I didn't really end up doing anything because, yeah, I hurt my back and I've just been in kind of hermit mode and like giving myself, like really trying to give myself that permission to just rest and relax and like not feel pressured to do too much. And like, especially with, yeah, like literally throwing my back out. I mean, that's your body literally forcing you to rest. So yeah, I'm like, hint taken. I'm like, just not going to pressure myself. I'm doing mostly better today because, like, thankfully, yeah, I do get to work from home most days of the week. And then we also got like some extra days to work from home this week because of the blizzard. So I was able to like basically work from my laptop, like from my bed or the couch when necessary, which was nice. And so, yeah, I just have like chronic back pain issues because I have like scoliosis and things like that. So it's like my back is just fucked up enough to give me like slight chronic back pain issues. And then every now and then you like tweak a nerve somewhere and it's just like locked up for a few days. So I'm getting back on like the upswing of recovery now. Hopefully I'll still be okay tonight and tomorrow after like running around doing Christmas cookies all day. But oh, and then also in the realm of like Loki Shenanigans Chaos Crew, we had to go out to the hardware store last night in the 20 below weather because the flusher broke on the toilet. So yeah, fun times. So yeah, it's been a week, it's been a month, it's been a year. I don't know about you guys, but like, how is this year almost over already? Where did the time go? But yeah, now that we are almost here, I got my tarot deck and I figured we would see what the vibes are going into the new year. Do some Yule solstice / new year transition tarot pulls and kind of, yeah, test my intuition with these standard decks. I might still have to pull out the guidebooks, not gonna lie, but hey, like, it's okay. One of the things that I also kept telling myself about having this YouTube channel, and really what I think anyone who wants to have a YouTube channel should keep in mind, especially like in kind of the like the cancel culture environment, or really like when you're like me and you just watch a lot of YouTube videos that are kind of more like researched heavy or like documentary style. There's kind of this perception that like everyone needs to be an expert, or that like, yeah, you have to be some kind of expert or authority on the information that you're speaking about, or you have no place speaking about it. But like, I'm just here to, like, I'm not coming from a perspective of I'm an expert who knows everything. I just want to share my thoughts, feelings, and experiences with people. And I feel like, especially in like the witchcraft or like pagan realm, I wish more people would do that. Because I feel like it can be scary. You are opening yourself up to criticism, and there's always going to be those haters out there who are going to say like, oh, you're doing it wrong, you're not a real witch, blah blah blah. But one thing that I learned really early on, and that Freya definitely like drilled into me, especially as someone who like is only taking up like practicing witchcraft in my 30s, is just that you can read all the books, you can join a coven, and you can have a high priestess 13th generation witch convey rights and convey like degrees and titles on you and say like, yes, you're an authentic witch now. But that's still like giving someone else power over you. And the whole point of witchcraft is stepping into your power, and you have to claim that for yourself. No one can tell you that you're a witch. Like, no one can tell you that you're magical and powerful. You have to claim that power for yourself and be like, hey, like, guess what? I'm a witch. Like, I'm just starting out and I'm still learning, but I'm a witch because I say I am. Like, and that's good enough. And that's good enough for you to like talk about, and that's good enough for you to like share with others. You don't have to be an expert to put yourself online. But yeah, that being said, speaking about messages from Freya, let's shuffle these cards some more and see what else deities, ancestors, spirit guides, anyone who has some positive messages or some important information. Let's see. All right. Pull some tarot cards here. Ooh, the first one is the Amazon of Pentacles, which I believe is the Knight. The Knight of Pentacles. Let's see. If I can find my guide here. That's not it. I really need to come in and declutter this space, because my witchy room be a hot mess right now. But yes, I believe, since she's on a horsey, that this is the Knight and not the Page, because since it's the Sailor Moon deck, it's more like feminine focused. So instead of Page, Knight, and King, they have like different names for it. So yeah, Knight of Pentacles. I feel like Knight usually represents starting forth on a new journey, embarking on a quest, as knights are wont to do. And so this is a quest kind of grounded in the material world, in all of the things relevant to us in our lives here on Midgard, such as home, comfort, security, material goods, wealth, finances, career, all that fun stuff. So maybe we're embarking on some new ventures, some new projects that might be able to generate some actual like material success or material wealth for us in the real world. So that's cool. I'm going to pull out my favorite book. Just so you guys know, this is the book that I always use when I need further insight on tarot cards. I actually got it from Barnes & Noble fucking years ago when I was in like middle school or high school, because my mom used to work there. So this was just like a clearance book on tarot. It's the Tarot Directory by Annie Lionette, and I love this book. I love that it's like a 3-ring binder, so it's so easy to flip through. It goes through all of the major arcana and all of the minor arcana. But one thing that I really like, because it just fits with my personal views, is that she doesn't do upright and reversed meanings. It's all just incorporated into the card, because I feel like life is like that. Reality is like that. Nothing is ever just black or white. Everything is going to have a little bit of both, especially depending on like what perspective you're coming at things from. Like everything is going to have its good and its bad. So I feel like it does a really good job of like going in depth. It gives you like keywords for each card and then like a general summary of what the card and its symbolism means, and then goes in depth into the symbolism and then the real life application or interpretation of it. But yeah, that being said, let's look up the Knight of Pentacles. I could be wrong. It could be the page, but it's just kind of like page to knight is just kind of a progression and building up of the same type of energy. So yeah, this one means hard work, steady progress, and diligence. So yeah, just keeping at it. Keep riding on that horse. It represents the ability to set our sights on attainable goals and quietly persevere until they are reached. It can represent either a person in our lives or like as most of these like court cards, it can either represent a person in our lives, a person that might be about to come into your life. Sometimes they'll say that like with these cards, with it being like page and knight, it might be a younger person, or with it being like an earth, pentacles being an earth card, they could be like an earth sign astrologically. But it also could just mean that like you yourself are representing this or are ready to or needing to represent this type of energy. So yeah, with it being pentacles, it represents like an earthly, down-to-earth person who can work hard and like has a goal and is like will set out on that horse to achieve that goal. So yeah, it suggests you're making steady progress toward your goals, and in time you'll get where you want to be. This is the perfect time of year to be thinking about reassessing and setting goals going into the new year. And an important point to note is that when you're making New Year's resolutions, it means you have all year to attain whatever that goal is. So again, no pressure. Don't pressure yourself here. We're all living a life. So it says, life often seems slow with very little excitement or stimulus, but this may be because it's time to relax and enjoy the simple pleasures of life. And that's where I've really been at like this last month. It's not so much like seasonal depression or anything, because I haven't really been like in a funk per se, but just feeling like I was close toward hitting those burnout levels and wanting to make sure that, yeah, especially as like the weather gets colder, it's just that time to retreat indoors, take it easy, and like as we get to the closing of the year, just take the time to like really look around and take in what you have accomplished this year, and like feel good about it. It's okay to take a break and like rest and recuperate this time of year. And if you don't, your body will force you to. So yeah, sometimes it says sometimes this card indicates you're training for a new career, but that the work you're now doing is laborious or boring. But don't lose sight of the fact that your prospects are good. Things might take longer than you wish, but your spirit of determination will win the day. Cool. So I feel like I want to like, I don't usually do this, but I'm feeling like I want to like keep shuffling and then pull some more that way. Keep renewing that energy. Yeah, it's just that time of year, and I feel like it's what this time of year is meant for. You know, we can't be out like in the olden days laboring in the fields because there's nothing to farm right now. And really, I've always said for years that as someone who just doesn't like the cold or being out in it, that humans should be allowed to hibernate in the winter like bears. Nobody needs to be out in this, especially in today's day and age where we have like grocery online delivery and things like that. Like we all need to be able to be indoors resting and recuperating this time of year. So let's see. Oh, okay. Speaking of kind of feeling like you're in limbo, feeling like maybe you're a little stagnant or in a rut, especially in this like weird limbo time of year between like the end of Christmas and New Year's, like I was saying, the next card is the Hanged Man. I pulled this one a lot in my own personal readings. It's definitely an interesting card for me. And it kind of represents to me like being in this state of suspended animation. Like the person's hanging upside down, but they're not really upset by it. They're just kind of hanging out there. So I think it definitely represents like this is that time of year where you are just kind of like the seed that's been planted, like especially if you're planting like tulip bulbs, like there are certain types of seeds that have to be planted in the winter so that the outer husk can just like crack and then you can grow in the spring. Like, yeah, it's like Isa. This is, I mean, it kind of even is like an Isa rune with the person being upright like this. But yeah, they're upside down. They're kind of hanging in limbo, hanging in this state of suspended animation. Also very Odin vibes, Hanged Man, just saying. Wild Hunt is definitely riding through with this crazy subarctic weather we have been having. Again, just this gods and spirits further driving it home to us, the message to stay indoors. You don't need to be out in this. Just stay indoors where it's warm. Like, just trust us. You don't be out. The Wild Hunt was raging for sure. Yeah, Odin hanging from Yggdrasil. So let's see. It's one of the earlier cards in the deck. Where are you? Yeah, okay. So again, with the Odin vibes, the keywords for this are sacrifice, transition, and spiritual transformation. Symbolizes giving up something in order to acquire something else that has become more important, very much like Odin sacrificing himself to learn the runes, because that knowledge and being able to give that knowledge to mankind was more important. You may have reached a crossroads and now need to choose what is significant and what is no longer of value. This is definitely the time of year for that as well. Like, cut away what is no longer serving you and leave it behind. Let it go. A turning point in your psychological development as you reorientate or focus toward the inner world. It is that time to retreat within and reorient your focus toward the inner world. 'Tis the season for shadow work, my friends. This necessitates a willingness to let go and trust that there is something greater than our conscious mind, which has the wisdom to guide us toward what is required for development. Yeah, Odin, take the wheel. Just let the universe kind of take the reins for a bit. That's something I've kind of learned in my manifesting this year, is that sometimes it's important not to be like too specific with what you're asking for. Like, you can ask, like, you can be like, I really want this job. But then it's like, if you're only narrowing your focus on that, you're missing all the other potential opportunities that could be waiting around you. So I usually am just like, give me a better job. Give me a less stressful job. And then it was amazing. Like, I felt like I wasn't getting anywhere with like manifesting or asking for help with those things. And then all of a sudden, like, when I opened it up that little bit to like make room for the universe to do its thing, or like let the gods do their thing, like all of a sudden obstacles being removed from the path. It's crazy. So yeah, I think that also represents exactly what I said, that this time of year can represent being in a state of limbo. And so you may feel like you're stuck in a state of limbo or kind of stuck in a rut or at a loss as to how to proceed. I know, like, we were just having a discussion in the Discord the other day about feeling like where you're stuck in a spiritual rut and like feeling like you've stagnated in your practice. I'm like about 2 years in now to being a practicing Norse pagan. And yeah, I'm feeling, again, but it's hard because I'm team do the most. I'm always feeling like there's more I could be doing or should be doing. So it's like, how do I combat that inner voice and also still like achieve spiritual growth for myself, you know? Like, I don't want to feel like I'm forcing it or like trying to do too much. But yeah, like, I'm just like, could I be doing something more, something different? But yeah, you may feel fearful but you may have it says you may have no choice other than to stay where you are and await the changes that will release you from this state of stasis. Like, I feel like this card not only represents like this, being in a state of limbo, but also just kind of have to go with the flow. They're not trying to struggle. They're not trying to get out of it. They're just kind of cool, calm, and collected. And you got to kind of go with the flow. I am definitely an empath, for sure. Sometimes I wish I knew how to turn it off, but that's also kind of part of what brought me to witchcraft and spell work, is just, yeah, kind of trying to learn how to harness these natural abilities that I've always had, because it's always just kind of been like all or nothing or just in like straight survival mode my entire life. So yeah, I'm trying to learn how to kind of fine tune that switch so that I can like dial it up or dial it back a little bit more when I want to, versus just kind of being at the mercy of everybody else's energies at all times. So yeah. So yeah, be focusing on new projects and goals and striving toward them, but also like just go with the flow. Don't feel too pressured. If you are feeling stuck or stagnant, like make room for the universe. Let's pull a couple more, and then I'll probably switch to some oracle decks. Some tarot cards like I have more experience with than others, just because like normally I only do readings for myself, and so I feel like when you're caught in your own life patterns, you get a lot of the same cards over and over. So some of them I'm like, oh, I pull this card all the time. I can tell you off the top of my head exactly what it means. And other ones I'm like, oh, I never see this one. What the fuck does this one mean? So let's see what else the gods or ancestors or spirits want us to know for the end of this year as we go into the new year. Oh, I had two. I had pulled one and then had one. I pulled one and then had one jump out. I pulled Temperance, which I think is also a good thing to keep in mind, especially if you are like me and you're like team do too much. Temperance means everything in moderation. Everything needs balance. My keyword for this year was definitely balance. And it's definitely a keyword that I want to carry in with me into the new year as well. Everything in its time. I feel like, yeah, this is also saying like everything in its time. Temperance. You don't have to be go, go, go all the time. This can be the time to take a step back, rest and retreat, everything in moderation, go with the flow. And then the one that jumped out is the Magician, a very powerful card. After the Fool, it is the first card and the first numbered card in the Major Arcana. So very powerful energy coming out here. Guidance, new opportunities, creative initiative. Like, yeah, very high, magical, creative, intuitive power. The Magician card contains all of the tools of the other suits, cup, wand, sword, because they are the master of all of them. And so, let's see. It says, this indicates you're about to undergo an important new beginning. I mean, yeah, new year, new beginnings, right? So I feel like this is a really cool, like powerful, good omen for the energy that we're going to be ramping up into the beginning of this new year. You're ready to demonstrate your creative gifts and abilities and to develop any untapped potential. It's time for decision making and action. So I think right now it's like that liminal space when it's like the end of the old year, beginning of the rebirth of the new year. It's okay to rest and retreat during these colder months and like go inward into yourself, take that rest break, reassess your goals, reassess where you're at in life and where you want to be. Like, just take that break. And then you'll be like, have that new energy ready to go as we go into the new year. And like, I think as the sun starts to return and the days get longer, you'll be harnessing more and more of that energy. So that's really cool. I think I kind of, maybe I'll just, should I leave that there? Do you want to pull more tarot cards or do you want to move on to oracle cards? I have like 3 or 4 or 5 decks that I was just going to pull cards from. So it's up to you guys. If we want to like do more tarot, we can do that. Or we can switch to all oracle cards. Yeah, let's do some oracle. Because I'm going to pull from some that are usually like kind of buried toward the back of my collection. So I haven't really used them a lot recently. So I'm excited to pull from these. So the first one is one of my favorites. It's the Fairy Forest Oracle deck. I got this just because of the depiction of Freyr that I saw in it. Because not only is he actually depicted as an elf in this deck with the pointy ears, he also is the fucking spitting image. Yeah, he's right at the top of David Bowie. Tell me that is not with the eyebrows David Bowie in Labyrinth. I love that it's the first card that I pulled too. So got some Freyr. I think he can also definitely embody that divine masculine, Oak King, Holly King, dying and resurrected grain god energy, which I will be doing an entire video all about the comparative mythology behind that whole thing at some point in 2023. But yeah, let's pull some cards from this deck. Yeah, I mean, as soon as I saw this card, I mean, not only do I just love elves and fairies, so I was like, ow, I was like, yes, I need this deck in my life immediately. But yeah, also, as soon as I saw that depiction of Freyr, because like you always kind of hear that Freyr is the king of Alfheim, but rarely do I ever see him depicted as an Alfar. So I just thought it was cool that there's a Freyr card in here, even though it's more of like a Celtic fairy deck, that there's a Freyr card and that he was depicted as an elf. So I got it, and that he's he looks like David Bowie. So I just got a kick out of that. But yeah, let's shuffle these. I want to say, I think I actually did resize these cards. I got like a little tiny paper cutter and then like a little rounded corner hole punch type thing, because these cards were a little bit too big for my tiny hands. So I trimmed them down like just the barest amount to make them a little bit easier to handle. Yeah, let me try and give like one good shuffle, and then we'll see what our Fae friends have to say. I just did a whole video all about the other world because I'm just like kind of all about this topic. So yeah, I love this deck. All right, let's see. Oh, Oath. Sorry about the glare. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but kind of like an ice fairy, frosty winter goddess vibe, and it says oath, promise, pledge, or contract. So this could also be maybe a good time of year to be thinking about maybe oaths that you made to like goals, like oaths that you made to yourself, or oaths that you made for things you wanted to do for the spirits or for the gods. Now is kind of the time to fulfill those as we get into the close of the year. Like maybe, I get to work on that, or start thinking about like new oaths that you might want to make. I know for like me specifically, maybe this card is calling me out because I've kind of been feeling the draw lately after going on like 2 years of working with Freya and calling her my patroness. I haven't taken any formal oaths to any deity, so maybe this is kind of my call to do so with her, because I've been feeling that kind of pull to do something kind of more formal and like make it official with her. So we have that. I'm going to keep shuffling again like I did with the last deck and see what we get. Oh, you made it an oath to Njord. That's really cool. That is a cool coincidence. Yeah, I feel like this could be like a cool time of year to be doing that. If not, like, especially like with the beginning of the new year. Okay, I feel like this one wanted to come out. This is so relevant to my all-time relevant to my interests, but Elfstruck. So we have this beautiful fae-looking queen of Alfheim here. Elfstruck, enchanted, beguiled, and spelled. I was just talking about that book, the Dictionary of Fairies, and it talks all about Elfstruck and what that term means. And yeah, kind of just to be like moonstruck, bewitched, enchanted. I could maybe definitely be said to be Elfstruck because I'm obsessed with them. But yeah, I love the artwork on these cards too. It's so beautiful. And some of them like vaguely remind me of just different celebrities. Who do you guys think this one is? I'm getting kind of Celine Dion vibes, but I just love the artwork on these cards. It's beautiful. I'm going to pull one more, but yeah, I guess I'm like maybe getting more signs and symbols that, yeah, it is the time. It is the time to start working with Fae and talk about elves, because that is definitely what I'm planning coming up. Okay, this one came out too. The Hedge Witch. Very cool, very cool. The Hedge Witch. Shout out to my fellow hedge witches out there. Herb wisdom, secrets, and hidden lore. it is definitely the time to be embracing that. Embrace your inner hedge witch. Get into some hidden lore. Love me some hidden lore and some herb wisdom. Let's go to the guidebook and see what it says about these cards. And then we'll go on to a different deck. Yeah. Well, and it's cool because like I never really knew exactly what the term hedge witch meant, and then now the more I've been studying things like concepts like the other world, it just literally means like to go over the hedge. The hedge is the boundary between like the civilized enclosure that people dwell in where it's safe for us and the other worlds, whether that be like outside of the hedge is the wilderness and dangerous animals, fae, other beings, who knows. But yeah, it means being a hedge witch means to travel over the hedge, and it's kind of when I've been inadvertently doing my whole life because I astral travel in my dreams. I've been doing it since childhood, and I never really knew, like I lucid dream and astral travel in my dreams, and I just never knew until recently that that's what I've been doing my whole life. So I'm definitely working on that and kind of getting a handle on those abilities. I've been able to lucid dream a lot more regularly since working with deities and stuff like that. Yeah, pretty much every night now I'm like astral traveling and flying around in my dreams doing crazy shit. So it's a wild ride, let me tell you. But yeah, let's see. And on that note, my mother's maiden name is Heil, which I found out actually came from the German Hegel, which means hedge. So I apparently come from a very long line of people whose names literally just meant that they lived like in on near the hedge. So like maybe my ancestors were also like hedge crafters. Who knows? Like that's kind of an interesting coincidence to think about. But yeah, let's see what it says for these cards. Oath. Start with that one. What number is that? 22. And in the way this deck is numbered, the Oath card, I will just point out, it comes right before the Freer card. An oath is a sacred bond that we make. It is the bond of a soul contract to the spoken word, and thus we must be cautious when we offer our word. So I think that's also why I have not making any formal oaths yet, because yeah, like your word is your bond, and like to make a formal pledged oath even more so, and especially in a community which values like Norse paganism or Teutonic paganism, which values community oaths and honor so greatly, it's kind of a big deal. And it's not something to be taken lightly. So it says, it is impossible to ever know what another thinks we mean when we give our word. So when this card comes, there's a slight undertone of warning that another person may take your word and twist it to mean that they have your loyalty forever, regardless of circumstance, behavior, or treatment. An oath is made between equals, and an oath can be broken by both parties and by circumstance. You may now be considering a partnership or contractual agreement. Maybe you are considering, like me, making a formal oath to a deity. It's almost impossible to know how to ensure that this is a good thing because the truth is, within every contract, there is much that cannot be comprehended even when it is read. And I think that is also a big taboo or warning that you will see with dealing with the Fae, is to be very careful when you're making bargains. And as someone who works closely with Loki, one thing that I can definitely also tell you is working with him is very similar in that you need to be careful what you wish for. You need to be very precise in your wording, and you need to be very careful what you ask for. Because if you wish for a break from work, they might send you COVID. Just saying. You said you wanted a break from work. You didn't say how you were going to get it. So it says, whatever its form, consider the weight that comes with the feeling of making an oath. Consider the future and the karmic load the agreement brings to you, along with its immediate benefits. When we're considering our word, we must understand fully as we can what we have agreed to. So the next one was Elf Struck. Very, very interesting for me as someone who's did that whole video and a lot of research about the other world and just been really delving into the topic of elves and fae lately. Maybe I am elf struck. Let's see. It says, you are dazzled, amazed, and astounded at present. Your head awhirl with otherworldly visions and thoughts. It's me. You may be a little obsessive and unable to balance at present. And like I said, I might be a little obsessive when it comes to elves. And my keyword for last year, and I think this year too, is definitely balance. Yeah, you may be a little obsessive and unable to balance. It is all or nothing, and the momentum is exhilarating and intoxicating. Yeah, I am very much an all or nothing person. I need to keep that temperance card in mind. You have given your all to your new passion, and like, boy, howdy have I. You've discovered that you truly do have the power to create what you want and need in life. So please take time out to contemplate just how these miracles have come about, the coincidences and connections that have brought you to this place. Very cool. And I think, yeah, now is a good time to do that as we're getting toward the close of the year. Yeah, take that step back and just like gain some perspective, recap it all, go over like what you have already accomplished and manifested, because I bet there's a lot that you don't even really realize until you really take time to think about it. Let's see. There's so much to be considered, and the thoughts you have right at this time are so intense and fully flavored that they are creating the next steps in your life, drawing them to you and weaving and creating your future. While you are currently so devoured by the desire to push forward, use this energy. Don't use your current state of enchantment to be sabotaged or hijacked for other purposes than your own, which must be for the highest good. Other people will definitely see your like passion and enthusiasm and like take that to be a way to like use you for their own means and ends. So just something to watch. Like, yeah, temperance, temper that enthusiasm with a little bit of caution is something that I definitely need to learn to do. Soon, it says, the intensity will ease, balance will make a return, and life will take on something like normality again. But now, having tasted magic, you can never return to how you once were. Very true. Having once tasted magic and connected with deity and having that like awakening that it's real, it's all really real. Like you can't go back. You can't go back after that. Hence why, yeah, I went from being agnostic to being a practicing Norse pagan. Oh, and then I almost forgot. Got one more card here to go over, the Hedge Witch, which is number 5. So let's see. The Hedge Witch says that you are being asked to consider herbal forms of healing, working with what is in between, effective and yet natural, available and yet still hardly acknowledged, changing the foods you eat to include more greens and herbs to boost energy and health, and begin to pay serious attention to the quality of foods you eat, with a focus on the world of herbs and plants. Says you can at this time adjust the way you eat and find essential oil blends to assist with sleeping, becoming calm, which is definitely an interesting tie-in, considering that, yeah, like the book we're reading for next month is Blackthorn's Botanical Magic, which is all about using essential oils and herb lore in witchcraft. So I think that's very telling with kind of where my research and where my witchcraft needs to be delving and going toward in the coming year. It says the Hedge Witch is the messenger guiding you to this new path of nourishment and well-being. So, yeah, maybe just being a hedge witch is something you are exploring or thinking about exploring more, if you're like me. So that was the Fairy Forest Oracle. And next, I'm going to pull from this other one that I hardly use because it's definitely, like, for me, like a very specific, like, light work type of deck. And that is the Beyond Lemuria Oracle cards. You're going to kick that Cancer's ass, Rachel. I'm just saying, fuck Cancer. But yeah, I think maybe that's definitely a good opportunity for, like, something that could help you and aid you toward that manifesting is like, yeah, delving into the herb lore, delving into, like, don't get me wrong, I am not going to be one of those people that's like essential oils cure everything, because that is not true. Yeah, modern medicine is good and has its purpose and its place. But I think that there can definitely also be more of a holistic approach to Western medicine. So that being said, this is very much of a light work deck that I kind of pull out when I need a little bit of pick-me-up and kind of to see like, where does your light lie? What do you have to bring to the table that you're not seeing? And things like that. God, these cards are also really big though, so they're gonna be hard to shuffle. But let's see. I feel like, yeah, as we're going into the new year, maybe we need like a little bit of light and enlightenment and positive vibes to guide us through this darkest nights of the year and the dark night of the soul. So we'll pull out this kind of very, very cool light work type of deck and see what it has to say. So let's pull some cards. Gracious receptivity. Gracious receptivity. Let me look that one up. Let's see. Gratitude. Let me hold it up. This one says, gratitude, being thankful, receptivity, giving without expectation, how worthiness and self-love can affect your capacity to receive and give without depletion, overflow over obligation, thriving over surviving, and gifting economies. If there was a manual for optimal human experience, one of the most potent points would be gratitude. And especially at this time of year, Thanksgiving, Christmas, like it is that time of year to be grateful and thankful for all that we already do have. It is the backbone of all spiritual practice. Writing a list of the things you are grateful for has been scientifically proven to have a profound positive effect on the mind and nervous system. When we shift our perspective from what we are lacking, needing, and desiring, we temporarily replace the survival factor with the resonance for thriving. When we acknowledge the miracle of our existence and how far we have come despite the challenges, it can bring back our inner smile. One of the best tricks for bringing something into your life is to be already thankful for it, as if it had already arrived. And that's kind of what I was talking about with my book club. I'm like, it's already a thing. Even if no one else is participating, I'm just going to keep acting like it is until it is. It sets up the frequency of fullness and plenty rather than emptiness and need. And that's also an important perspective that people talk about a lot in magic and manifesting. As we've mentioned before, like attracts like, but there is a whole other power at play here as true gratitude is anchored in the heart. Being moved by the sheer awe of appreciation and thankfulness is hugely pivotal to the way others and our environment respond to us. The next step is to give from our hearts without being asked or invited. When we emanate a field of new earth consciousness, giving can free us from expectation just by knowing that we can all thrive together when everything flows as a system of giving. Yes, others may take advantage, but if you drop the fear of this outcome, it's quite likely that those of this frequency will also fall away. Holding up a beacon of light this way creates incentive and inspiration to those around you. And that is definitely a message that I've been getting hardcore from Freya since I started working with her is stop hiding your light. Because I'm a very shy person. I kind of keep myself to myself, live my little hermit life in my shell. I don't really let anyone see like all of my inner quirks and weirdness and personality. But like part of why I started this YouTube was she was like, you have a lot of stuff and like a lot of information to share and like a lot of light to share with the world. And so, yeah, it says that as other people's cup fills, it unlocks space within them for resources in other areas. Thus, this giving overflow has a domino effect from person to person. Receptivity is a critical factor in the art of giving. Those who struggle to feel they have the resources to give may also have trouble receiving. And that's definitely something I am learning. Here it brings us to self-love and how important it is for feeling full enough so that our overflow doesn't deplete. I talked about that in one of my last videos, that like my video about working with Freya, she's the goddess of self-love, because if you don't love yourself, if you think deep down that you're a piece of shit and like not worthy of anyone loving you, then even when someone does come along who is a good partner and is loving and is trying to show you love or even just friendship or acceptance, you're going to reject it or try to like self-sabotage it because like deep down you don't believe you're worthy of it. So you need to love yourself before you can even begin to like distribute that love to others, and before you can like fully accept love and like authentic feelings from others. When you allow yourself to receive from those in their heart's joyous overflow and give from a place beyond expectation or obligation, a whole new paradigm reveals itself. Giving and receptivity is a two-way flow. Each allows space for the other. When we're in our hearts, we have limitless resources, and that starts with gratitude. So, yeah. It says, right now you may feel like you have little to give. If so, allow yourself to receive more. Again, it's okay to take that step back from go, 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 do. It's okay to take that step back, especially if you are like me, like hitting that burnout level. And as I always say, you can't pour from an empty cup. If you're always putting others first and putting others' needs before your own and giving of yourself to others 24/7, you are going to be depleted and drained. So you need to fill up your own cup and like put on your own oxygen mask first before you can help anyone else. The gift of the sun on your face on a winter's day, or a compliment from a stranger, allow yourself to drink every drop. And that is another important thing, is to just take time to literally stop and smell the roses and like appreciate those little things. Often we only take a little sip, even when there is so much more that we could appreciate. And yet it is beautiful when you give to someone and they light up and receive it fully. Gratitude, self-love, and self-worth are interwoven with the capacity to receive. So yeah, very cool, I think very important message, very Freya-driven message there. I'm going to pull one more from this deck because I feel like that really did a good job of it, like also encompassing some other cards and other messages that we've been receiving, and that like that was a lot in the guidebook. So I'm going to pull one more from this, and then I have 2 or 3 more decks I was going to pull from. We'll see if, like, depending on how people are feeling, if you guys want me to pull from all of them, or how I'm feeling, if I'm going to pull from all of them. Let's see. Ooh, okay. Again, coming through with those Vayner vibes, we got the solar plexus chakra. Radiant illumination. And I talked in my video about working with Freya about how I think the Vanir, especially like Freyr and Freya, being kind of those like solar deities in some of their aspects, do work within our solar plexus chakra, especially as like deities who are more closely tied to the natural world and like the beauty aspects of Midgard. They're the ones that, yeah, like you just that warm feeling in your chest when you do see the sun on a winter's day. Like that is them hitting you in your solar plexus chakra to me. And just, yeah, like that sunny aspect of them, like that's where you feel it, is in that chakra. So, and then along with my solar plexus, Freya, I said in that video, is also working with me on repairing my heart chakra. So let's pull out the book and see what it says about the solar plexus chakra. So the solar plexus chakra is about personal power, independence, self-discipline, confidence, assertiveness, decision-making, belief, intellectual abilities, expression of will, and bringing ideas into reality. It is the radiant center of our being. It's where like our vitality comes from. It holds the vibrant spark that brings our passions to life. Enter this space to step away from playing small, unworthiness, or the idea that you're taking up space, and insecurity-based competitiveness. Allow yourself to be attuned to the abundant life force that resides within this center and be energized, motivated, fueled with inspiration, enthused, and clear-minded so you can bring forth more of yourself and what you wish to birth in the world, which again are all very like Freya and Freya things for me that, yeah, them and the Vayner kind of help me with and I feel like contribute to us. So again, very accurate there. I feel like, yeah, that's where they do a lot of work in helping our solar plexus chakra. As you discover a deep and real sense of self-empowerment, you can move more confidently lift others in celebration. So kind of tying back to what the first card said, as you discover a sense of self-love and self-empowerment, you are more easily able to embody, like how I always say Freyr is like the positive solar masculine of lifting people up and just, yeah, shining your light on them. And you're more easily able to do that from your solar plexus chakra. You can harmonize differences and shift hierarchical paradigms into collective co-creation. I think that's also very Vayner vibes. Collective co-creation, harmony, friendship, working together. Remember that you are a powerful being who can connect with potent life force energy as and when you need it. Be aware of what fuels your inner fire and consider circumstances where you had your power away. Imagine all the fragments of your energy that you have given away at some point and bring them all back to the center of your being. That's definitely a very important cleansing ritual you should do. The theme is your power and where you are putting your energy. So yeah, I think that definitely, like I said, ties back into the first card of when your own cup is full and working in the solar plexus chakra and calling on those Vayner deities, and those solar deities will help you in this area if you need help in that area. That's very cool. Cool, positive vibes. I think that's also interesting that we pulled the solar plexus chakra after the longest night of the year when it is the rebirth of the sun and the sun god and the solar energy. So yeah, it is like the time to be rekindling, and we will hopefully be feeling the resurgence of that solar energy in ourselves as it comes back to Midgard. So very cool deck. I don't use it very often because, again, I feel like it's just kind of very specific for like when I need that little bit of pick me up, or like when I am kind of not able to see my own value and what I have to bring to the table. It's a really good deck for that. All right, I'm only going to pull like one from this because this is my Threads of Fate Oracle. And they're kind of just very like minimal on the nose. Thank you for joining me for so long, Rachel. It's really good to have you here. I'm so glad you got to be here for some of the tarot readings. Since you do so many of your own, I'm going to pull one more. I'm going to pull one from this Threads of Fate Oracle. And then maybe one or two other decks, and we'll probably wrap it up here soon. Ooh. The Alchemist. Again, like converting your, like, magic is the art of changing reality at will, or changing consciousness, changing your own consciousness at will with your own willpower. So that transformative energy, time to harness it and harness that transformation energy and manifest it in the new year. And exactly. So I really like this deck. It was the first Oracle deck I ever bought. Ooh, let's see what the bottom of the deck energy is. The Death card. Definitely that time of year. Hello, hell. But again, it's that even though we're in the dark, kind of dormant time of the year right now, we just passed the hump. We passed the hurdle of the longest night of the year. So it's time for that resurgence and rebirth of energy again. And yeah, time to kind of harness that energy. The other one I wanted to pull from really quick because, again, I feel like I rarely ever use it, but every time I've used it personally, it's been very powerful. It's a little, if I can find, there it is. I actually had a psychic use this deck with me when I went to like a past life reading. It's a little bit more heavily Wiccan based. It is the Traveler's Guide to the Well-Worn Path. I believe it's by Raven Grimosty and Stephanie Taylor, art by Mickey Mueller. I believe it is actually sadly out of print now, but this is a really interesting deck because while it is kind of based on Wiccan archetypes, I feel like it's still overarching archetypes enough that you could still apply it to various different archetypal energies, beings, deities, even just outside of the Wiccan paradigm. For example, I used this deck the first time I ever reached out to Odin and Hel and got very like on the nose messages with this deck. So yeah, I'm gonna just pull some from this and see what other like energies are lurking about this time of year. Who else might have some messages for us as we transition from this year into the next. All right, the first one is the mother. I feel like that's totally appropriate for this time of year because we just had Mother's Night, and it's that time for that like Frau Holla, winter goddess, like mother goddess energy, like the Vanadis, the Disir, the mother ancestors. Definitely the time of year to be getting in touch with those energies. So I feel like I don't even need to read the guidebook for this. It's kind of mother is self-explanatory. So apply that to whatever mother energies you may be feeling in your life. It's maybe the time to connect with those energies. And I'm going to put this to the side because it actually ties into the channeled message that I got from Frigg last night. So we'll come back to that. Pull like maybe one or two more from this. It's not a very big deck. Let's see. The Maiden. Hello, Freya. Ties into that triple goddess, maiden, mother, crone. So we are in kind of the mother to crone time of the year right now. I would say we're kind of in the crone aspect with everything being dead and dormant, but it is time for the resurgence of that maiden spring energy. So very interesting to see that. I'm gonna pull one more. If I pull the fucking crone, I'm gonna scream. Just saying. And maiden, mother, and we'll pull one more. So definitely feeling the goddess energies coming through. Oh, it's okay. Hand fasting. So I feel like that kind of goes, maybe ties in with the oaths card. Because it's, maybe more specifically a hand fasting is in like a marriage, but it could also be like an oath making. Pledging your troth to a deity or whomever it may be. Let's see what the guidebook says for that one. Hand fasting. 69. I do really like the guidebook for this. I probably touched on it in one of like my tarot collection videos, but it's almost like if you go through the whole deck or like go through the whole book in order, it's also like acts as a guided meditation. So that's cool. So we need... When this card appears, it is addressing mating, partnership, union, incorporation, and integration. Integration, I think, is probably the key word this time of year because, as I said, 'tis the season for shadow work. And shadow work is all about integrating those parts back into yourself. Or like as that last card said, like taking time to kind of think of like where all the places that you might have left parts of your energy or given it away, and not like it's the time to reclaim all of that and take it back, reclaim your energy. Do the shadow work, reintegrate that shadow self back into yourself. So I feel like it could be representing that. It says, traditionally hand fasting is the pagan equivalent of marriage, but in some ancient cultures, and this is interesting, the couple agreed to be joined together only for a limited amount of time, such as a year. And after that point of time, the union could be renewed. So I think that also might tie back into the oath card. When I first got into this path, I kind of said that I was going to give myself the traditional year and a day of exploring before I kind of really made any in-depth commitments. So it could maybe represent that, like, being cautious, or maybe just making some temporary or like low low risk oaths, if that makes sense. Like, no, don't, if you are going to make an oath or a promise, whether it be to yourself or to the gods, like, keep it low impact at first. Like, if you just want, like, to make a New Year's resolution for yourself, like, do something that you know is, like, feasible, and don't be hard on yourself about it. But yeah, like, maybe start small. Make an oath that maybe is something that you think you can achieve within a year and a day, and, like, stick to it, or, like, and then build on it from there. Especially if you are going to make an oath to a specific deity. Like, let's say, like, I'll work with this god for a year and a day, closely, and then we'll see where it goes from there before you, like, make a permanent commitment. So yeah, I feel like maybe that's kind of where that card is coming from in this case. All right. That being said, as I said, I got pulled out of bed in the middle of the night last night because I was thinking about stuff I wanted to talk about for this live stream, and I was getting, like, Mother Goddess energy message channeled. Where's my notebook? And I feel like it's definitely tying into that Mother and Maiden card that I just pulled. And then I also wanted to pull some, like, a card from this Buddha Wisdom Divine Feminine, because that's, like, the energy that I'm going for, and also what I'm going to talk about as we get into the end of this live stream here. So, Divine Feminine, kind of like Buddhist wisdom to meditate on as we go into the new year. Let's see. This is perfect for what I've been saying for this whole reading. It says, "Let's look within for a place of rest, your temple of the heart." Look within for a place of rest, your temple of the heart. And I think for me, as someone that works with Freya, the heart chakra could definitely be like the temple of Freya as far as she's concerned. So I feel like, yeah, that also really ties into this message and this energy that we've been getting in this whole reading. And speaking of the DEC and that energy being strong lately, and, like, that Mother Goddess, and yeah, pulling that Mother card, the message that I received from Frigg last night really dives into the role of the Mother and the divine feminine, and that Mother energy, because I was thinking about Frigg. I was thinking about Mother Goddesses. I was thinking about my own relationship with Frigg and Freya, and my own relationship with my mother. I was thinking back on just some recent pop psychology podcasts that I'd been listening to lately, where I was thinking, like, how did Frigg come to marry Odin, first off, and then how, if he's the All-Father, she could be said to be the All-Mother. And from there, yeah, like, I was thinking about my own relationship with my mother and how it impacts my own approach toward goddess work, and especially, like, mother goddesses, and how I view them and work with them. And I got this message that, especially as we go into 2023, but I think just the cycle that we are in right now as a whole is one of healing the mother wound, is what I'm calling it. Because I was hearing a lot about this concept called the mother wound, which is something that a lot of people have as we get older, because when we're younger, we really depend on our mothers and, like, on having a strong relationship and, like, bond and, like, emotional bond with them. And I feel like we've been in this cycle of, like, not only just, like, patriarchy, hello, but, like, yeah, Christianity is, like, a masculine, patriarchal driven religion. And so all the focus has been on masculinity, male vibes, male energy, male deities. And, like, even in Norse paganism and Asatru, it's a lot of, like, on the surface level, at least, or at face value, like, very Asatru, Odin, Thor, like, male deity driven on his face. And even, like, from Snorri, we don't really get a lot of information on the goddesses. So I feel like we've been in this age since 2012, where that was said to be, like, the end of the Mayan calendar. But it was really just kind of the end of one age and the beginning, like, or transition into another age of humanity. Because, yeah, it's all about healing humanity's mother wound, basically. 2012 was the, like, we are actually in the Hindu calendar in the Kali Yuga right now, which is the age of destruction. So that's fun. Um, and so yeah, it's like but it's not really the end of the world. It was just the end of a cycle, and we're in that like growing pains transition period right now of like the shedding of the current paradigm, which like people are fighting against because people don't like change. But we're shifting paradigms in away from that authoritarianism, patriarchy driven way of thinking and like way of society, basically. Like, because yeah, I've heard it kind of tossed about in like a couple different circles, whether it be like different pagan circles or just like conversations I've had with my husband, where it's almost like conspiracy theory level of like, why are things so shitty and chaotic right now? Like, why does it seem just like the world is in such a period of turmoil and upheaval right now? And I know part of it is just because, like, we've never, like, with modern technology and like the connectivity of the world, we've never, I think, in human history been so aware of everything else that is going on in the world as we are right now, which can make it hard. But I think, yeah, it's also like 2020 was the extinction burst. It's the upheaval and transitioning away from that like old paradigm of, because like, yeah, actually we've been in the age of Pisces, which is like the Jesus fish and the rule of Christianity for the last couple thousand years. And now we have actually transitioned into the age of Aquarius. It literally is the dawning of the age of Aquarius, which is supposed to be more about like feminine energy, goddess energy. But to me, that just kind of means like a lessening away from authoritarianism and like patriarchy views and healing that mother wound by embracing the goddess energy, embracing the feminine. So yeah, what does that mean exactly? So not only did I get that message, I got that like specifically for people of the like for women or people of the like feminine persuasion or that are looking to embody that type of energy. We really, because another thing that I came across this term that I'd never heard before the other day called, if you've heard of the male gaze. But it was like, apparently now there's this thing that I had never heard of called the female gaze. And I'm just like, what do these things even mean? I'm too old for this shit. I don't know. I'm not hip on the TikTok lingo, I guess. But I think it also just means like stepping away from the male gaze where like women are nothing more than like sex objects and they're to be looked at. And like all that matters is like how we appear to men and if we are worthy of male attention. Because right now I feel like we as women are still stuck in that like patriarchal driven stereotype of like misogyny, basically, of like you still even see this stereotype now that like women are catty. Women are catty. I only hang out with guys. I don't have a lot of other girlfriends because women are catty. And I think it's because in this society we are brought up to be competitive with each other because we're competing for what? Male attention. So not to go off on too much of a little feminist rant here toward the end, but we need to shed that stereotype that women are catty and in competition with each other for male energy and realize, and this is the message, we need to realize we are actually lionesses. We are a lion pack. We, like the lionesses in the pack, they work together to hunt and provide for the entire pride and like, yeah, like the males are important, but like the women are the ones holding it down and they're working together as a community. Whereas now we're kind of given this perspective of like guys are a limited resource and we're all in competition for male attention and male approval. So we need to get away from that because it helps like drive that stereotype that women are catty and competitive with each other. And we need to realize that we're actually lionesses and stop competing with each other and step, as I said, step into our power. Stop seeking validation and seeking power externally and like claim that power for ourselves. And also, yeah, like as part of the solar masculine, be building each other up. It's kind of fucked up, like when you kind of like get perspective and realize like how much of like women's perspectives and relationships are formed by in modern society by like advertising, like fuck Mad Men for what they did to like women's self-esteem, because we've been built this society of we're going to sell products to people by breaking down your self-esteem and convincing you that like the only way you're going to be attractive or like conventionally pretty is by like using our products. Like the only way you're going to be happy with yourself is by buying shit. So that's part of it. But it's also, yeah, like this weird thing of like, maybe if we keep all the women fighting amongst themselves, they will be too busy to like actually step into their power, is part of it. And I think that also goes to society as a whole. As I said, with that whole, like, I feel like we're right now being ruled by the god of authoritarianism, because it's like, why would the world be this way unless we were being exploited by some being or deity that like lives off of human suffering? You know, like that's almost the only explanation that makes sense for why everything is so crazy and shitty right now. But yeah, it's like is like the God that's in charge right now, just like living off of our suffering. Because why? But yeah, I think we're transitioning away from that and away from that viewpoint, because I feel like the Christian God in modern society is the God of authoritarianism in the way that he's been presented in modern society. And yeah, we're stepping away from that as a whole, because like society as a whole is, well, if we keep people competing with each other or feeling like they need to compete with each other for limited resources, they'll be too busy to actually like achieve self-achievement, like self-actualization. And that's the word. Yeah. So I feel like that's what I was going to say. Like this Christian authoritarian God is led to an entire society that I feel like is based on fear and guilt and shame. Like we got to keep everybody in line and everybody conforming to the plan and like conforming to what we think of as like normal society by using fear of like ridicule, fear of shame, fear of rejection, like fear of punishment, like just fear. It's all fear-based. And so yeah, we really need to we're trying to transition into a period away from that. But of course, like the current capitalist system is serving a lot of people who have been in power for very long, very well. And they would like very much to keep that system in place. So I think that's why we're in that period of turmoil and upheaval right now, is that, yeah, like society as a whole, just on the day-to-day level and like on a spiritual level, is going through that awakening and that transition. But it's good. It's a period of growing pains, and I'm saying like this right now is the extinction burst. But yeah, so that was what I had to come into this room and write down in my notebook at 2 a.m. last night. Because that's, yeah, I think the message that I was getting from the goddesses, from Frigg and Freya, was that, yeah, like our mission here right now is to heal the mother wound on like a societal level. So yeah, kind of restore that rejection and oppression of the divine feminine. So yeah, that's really about all I had that I was gonna do here on this live stream. So I think I'm gonna wrap it up here. It's about 9:30 my time. So yeah, time to go get cozy for the evening and chill with my husband and my cats. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you guys had fun on this very long and rambly live stream. I did intend for it to be a little bit longer than my usual just like book club live streams, because I had a lot more that I wanted to encompass in it. But yeah, I'm so glad that you guys came to hang out with me. It's been a lot of fun. I hope you're all like enjoying your Yulemas Eve wherever you are or however you're celebrating. And yeah, until next time, stay classy, pagans.